going on, everybody? Y'all have an awesome see you at the pole? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You are not forgotten. I am not forgotten. I am not No, just kidding. I'm not going to sing it to you. God, he knows my name. He knows my... I'm just kidding. Y'all don't even know about me. If you raise the third one, it should work. The third slider. All right, everybody. We are in our series, New Me, Who Dis. This is the last one. Look at your neighbor, say, aw. Aw. The last one. Have y'all been enjoying this series, New Me, Who Dis? I feel like, man, it has been pretty awesome just for me, just even coming up with these messages and what God has been doing just through my own heart as I've been reading these passages and going over this. I mean, God, it's just awesome. Like, I love this. I love this idea that we're a new creation in Christ and that the old us, man, he doesn't even know. The old us, the new us doesn't even really know. Go ahead and take a seat, Ricky, for a second. There we go. Check this out. The new us doesn't even recognize some of what the old us liked. Like, I know when I first became a Christian, like as I progressively got closer to God, I would look at some of the stuff that I used to like doing, and I didn't really even, it's like I didn't even recognize that joy inside of some of the things that I used to be. Like, man, when lust would come around, it didn't seem as tempting to me anymore. When different things that I used to be involved in, drinking and drugs, I would see it from a different perspective, and it was kind of like when I would look at it, I'd look at it like, what is this? This ain't even something that I would even enjoy. It's almost like I didn't even recognize it. It's like the devil would come knocking on my door. And I'd be like, I'd open the door with, hello, lust. I don't even know who you are. Why are you coming around here anymore? I don't know. You don't look the same to me anymore. I don't recognize you. It's like I feel like that when that happens in your life, it's almost like you just gave the devil an uppercut to the face. Anybody feel like just these past couple of weeks here at the altars, the devil just got smacked right in his face where you just said, man, stranger danger. I don't even know who you are. I'm a new creation in Christ. You can't be coming around here anymore like you used to, devil. Don't even know who you are. A new creation in Christ. The things I used to do, it doesn't entice me anymore. I can remember when I was I was a young little kid, high schooler, and I used to, it's the third one, I'm pretty sure. It's not the very last slider, guys, but it's like the third or the fourth one. If you just raise it up and lower everything else. I was so wrong. Never mind. Okay, so raise the first one. Sorry, guys, it's a little distracting, I know. Raise the very first one. And take it all the way to the end. Nope, we're not working with this. Okay, so check this out. I can remember in the there we go. That's what I'm talking about. The very first slider, and you take that all the way up, or if you just click on walk in and you click on the very last one, you get that. Okay, so check this out. Here we go. Y'all are going a little crazy. The lights are going crazy, but check this out. I remember when I was a little kid, and I was a skater, okay? Or I tried to be. Wasn't actually a skater. Like I've seen other people like John on the drums. He also skates, and I've seen him with a skateboard. He does pretty good. But I would pretend like I wasn't actually very good at it. I couldn't even do an ollie, okay? And for those of you who don't know, ollie is basically, it's basic. It's as basic as it gets, okay? That's like the base level. If you can't do an ollie, you're not going to be able to do anything. So here we go. I can't even do an ollie, but here I am going into the half pipe, going into the quarter pipe, trying to do whatever I could. I'm trying to grind. I'm trying to do all these different things. And I was never any good at it, okay? I was getting bruised. I was dropping in on like a huge quarter pipe drop in, and I was just eating it every time. Just like, here we go. I'm like, this time I've got it. I'm going to do it. I'm awesome, man. I see all my friends, they're able to do all this stuff. I'm like, boom. boom, just every time. And I'd like get like bruised up knees, bruised up face, bruised up everything. I was walking away hurting because I had not even gotten through the basics yet. I was trying all these other things because I thought I'd be able to impress other people, but I was missing the basics. I had a friend one time who told me, he said, "You're trying too hard. You've got to go back to the basics. It's not about impressing anybody. It's about being able to do it. You've got to go back to the basics." If you could pull up my slide, we've got our sermon today, or the title today. Look at your neighbor. Tell them back to basics. Come on, look at them. Tell them back to basics. New me. Who dis? Back to basics. You got to go back to the basics. I feel like so much of the time we can be trying with everything inside of us to impress somebody, to impress other people. Even as Christians, I feel like we can try to pray harder. We can feel bad because we feel like, man, if I just pray a little bit more, maybe then God will love me more. If I just worship a little more, maybe God will love me some more. And if I just am more bold, maybe God will love me. God doesn't love me because I'm not bold enough to talk to my friend about Jesus. And we can place all of these pressures from people around us that aren't even supposed to be on us. Like, God didn't design us to be pressured. God didn't design us to carry this weight and this burden on our shoulders. He didn't design us to be overcome with grief and overcome with shame over not being able to perform to a certain level. He didn't design us to do that. And I feel like a lot of times we can almost have a Christianity where it's like Pinterest, where we see all these different things that are, man, Pinterest is awesome. I love Pinterest, but I feel like sometimes as I'm looking through Pinterest, Chloe and I, we just recently bought a house, okay, and it is a fixer-upper house. Like, we've got to work on it, like work hard on what we're doing with this house. And like the plumbing goes bad, and different things have occurred. Our air conditioning broke, because it's an old house. So we've got all these things that we have to fix up. And because we have to fix those things up, I don't get to the Pinterest board things. Like I don't get to go to remodel our bathroom and have backsplash. What's that backsplash called? Subway tile. See, everybody knows about subway tile. Like, I haven't even gotten to be able to do the subway tile. I haven't been able to get to doing all of the shiplap walls. I haven't been able to go and look at Joanna Gaines' Pinterest board and do absolutely everything on that board. Like, I haven't gotten to that place yet. And sometimes I can become discouraged because I feel like if I haven't gotten there yet, if I haven't gotten to that level yet, then I don't really want to have people over and see what's going on at home because it's not good enough. We can begin to feel like it's not good enough to show off to other people, and we can feel like in our Christianity, we can feel like we're not good enough to show off who God is because we're not good enough. And I came tonight to tell a young person that God accepts you just the way you are. God accepts you wherever you are, but he'll remind you who you are. That's our main idea tonight. Go ahead and put, God accepts you wherever you are, but he always reminds you of who you really are, the real you. You don't have to try to impress anybody when you're just the real you. You know how many times I've looked at my father-in-law, he always posts things all the time. He's posting cool pictures, different things. We post cool pictures on Instagram. And we'll get have you ever posted something you've been like, that's it, this is it. It's going to get so many likes. 3 likes. That's it. Are you serious? And it's yourself, it's your grandmother, and it's like the guy that you don't even like at school. He's creeping you out, okay? And those are the people that like the things. But then if you post the dumbest picture, you're just hanging out with your friends, whatever. It's like a blurry bathroom selfie with you and a couple of other people. But it's just genuine. It's just you. It's like you get so many likes. It's like 1 million likes. And you're like, are you serious? This is what gets me likes? Happens to my father-in-law all the time. He'll just post a picture of his grandson, and he'll get 1 million likes. Then he'll post some other picture, and he'll get nothing. But it's just that genuineness. It's that realness that impresses other people. And the same is true with you. When you can just really just be you. When you're not trying to impress anybody. You're not trying to impress God with how much you know about the Bible. As if he's impressed by the Bible that he wrote. Okay, check this out. If you can just stop trying to impress God for a minute. Trying to be perfect all the time. And if you can just be the real you. The you that he created you to be. Man, that's what's going to impress him. God will always love you wherever you are, but he'll always remind you who you are. We're going to look in a passage called in the Bible in Genesis 28. It's a story of Jacob. Jacob, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background. Jacob was the son of Isaac. Sorry, I get Isaac and Israel messed up all the time. So he's the son of Isaac, and Isaac had another son, and it was Jacob's brother Esau, who was the firstborn. So that's important here because the firstborn back then would get the most inheritance. But Jacob wanted that inheritance because he felt like the person who's first, the person who's in first place, the firstborn, they're the impressive one. They're the one who gets more. They're the one who get more attention. They're the one who gets all of the glory and all of the accolades. So I want to be that person. And Jacob thought that if he was able to impress other people, if he was able to get that inheritance, if he was able to get the blessing from his father, maybe then he would be able to impress his father. Maybe then he could really prove that he's an awesome person. Maybe then he would get the acknowledgement that he so desired. So check this out. We're going to read this. Jacob left Beersheba and went to Haran. Now I need to back up for a second because here's what happened. Jacob, his name means deceiver. And what he did with his father is his father was going to be blessing Jacob's brother Esau. Check this out. He was going to be blessing Jacob's brother Esau. So what Jacob did is he dressed up like his brother because his dad was a little bit blind. So this is important to the story. He dressed up like his brother. He changed who he was, y'all. He changed who he was so that he could get to the glory, so he could impress other people with everything that he was able to be getting. So I want you to understand for a moment that Jacob now has deceived his father, and his brother got mad. His brother said, you know what? I'm going to kill you. Jacob ended up actually getting the blessing from his father. So that's important to this. Check this out. Jacob ended up getting the blessing, but he did it by deceiving his dad. So now his brother wants to kill him. Y'all, this is a messed up family. You thought your family was messed up, but this is a messed up family. So now his father says, get out of the house. You got to leave because your brother's going to end up killing you. So now Jacob has the blessing, but he's walking away with nothing. He has the blessing, but he's walking away with nothing. And when you take matters into your own hands, when you try to change who you are to impress other people, you will always walk away empty-handed. It's like when you try to get into that friend group because they're the cool people, so now you're changing who you are, who God has created you to be. You're going to walk away feeling more empty than ever. You can have people all around you who think you're the coolest, who think you're awesome, who think you're just, man, you're the coolest person at the school, but you can walk away feeling empty. I'm telling you that there are people out there that have friends all around them, but they go home and they feel empty. They feel empty. They feel angry. Sorry, you in the splash zone? It's my bad. My bad. So check this out. I want you to understand that from this passage that Jacob tried to change who he was. And because he changed who he was, he lost everything. Now Jacob is running away from home. He came to Beersheba. And he came to a certain place. He had nothing with him. He came to a certain place and stayed there that night. Because the sun had set, he was running away from his brother. He had nothing. Taking one of the stones, he didn't even have a pillow with him to make himself feel comfortable. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. He lay down in that place to sleep. He lay down in a hard place to sleep. Back it up for a second. We're not going to go forward yet. He lay down in a place where he had nothing. And I'm sure that night he was looking around and he was saying, what have I done? I've left everything I've ever known at home. I've left everything behind, all because I did this sin, all because I deceived my father. And I feel like he probably had grief. I feel like he probably felt ashamed in that moment. And it was in that place that something amazing happened. It wasn't in a place where he was trying to impress someone. It was in a place where he had nothing. Check this out. Next, that place to sleep. And he dreamed. And behold, there was a ladder set up. Woo! Y'all see that? I've got skills. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. There was a ladder set up to the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. So the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. Because even in the place where you feel all alone, you still have a connection with heaven. God wanted him to know that he wasn't alone. Check this out next. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give to you and to your offspring. Go ahead next. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. He's telling him who he is. He's telling him his future. He's telling him that even though you're lying in a place of grief, even in that place, even though that you are in a place where you should be ashamed, even in that place, I'm still going to tell you that you have a future. And I feel like tonight someone walked into this place filled with grief, filled with shame, came in here afraid, and I've come to you to tell you, even in that place, even in a desert place, even in a hard place, God will still tell you that you have a future, that it's not over. Even when it feels like I am running from something, I'm running away and I can't seem to get away from the person that I thought that I was, God will still tell you, you have a future, that I've got a blessing coming your way. You need to understand, young person, that you'll never be alone, that even in that place, even in the hard place, you still are connected with heaven. God is sending his angels to protect you. I want you to understand that. Even in that place, even in the place of your shame, even in the place of your guilt, in the place of your guilt, God's glory can show if you'll let him. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and all the families of the earth will be blessed. Next. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. For I will not leave you until I've done what I have promised you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid, and he said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. So early in the morning, Jacob took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up for a pillar and poured oil on top of it. He created an altar in the place of his shame where God still met him. God, I just pray tonight that your Holy Spirit would move inside of our young people. God, I pray that altars would be created, that even in the hard places that they might be at in their lives, God, tonight that something amazing would happen, Jesus, that they would realize that God is still with them. They don't need to impress anybody. They don't need to impress you. All they need to do is press into you, God. So, Father, I pray that we would create altars of remembrances, reminding ourselves of what you've done, Jesus. In Jesus' name. Everybody said, amen. That's what I'm talking about. See, I want you to understand that this young person, that Jacob, running from God, running from his family, running from his shame, feeling shame and in this place, probably feeling like, you know what, I don't have what it takes. Probably feeling like that, like why would God ever love me? Why would my family ever love me? How could my brother ever love me after what I did to him? And running away from home. Feeling like he somehow there's no way that he could ever make his way back home. Never make his way back into his father's house. And I wonder if there's a young person in here tonight, if you have a feeling in your heart, like, man, I keep on messing up. I keep on doing the same thing that I said I wasn't going to be doing, and I can't seem to be getting away from it. I'll never be able to enter into my Father's house. I'll never be able to live for God the way that I feel like he wants me to do. I want you to understand tonight that you don't have to try to impress him, but with perfection. There's no need for that. Have you ever had those people in your lives that they just like forget instantly what you did for them? Like you spent like 2 or 3 hours texting them, talking them down from the ledge that they were about to jump off on or whatever. Like you spent all sorts of time trying to like help them out. And then they're like, thank you. You are my only true friend. Like you're the only one I've got. You're such a true friend. And you spent like 2 or 3 hours with them, and 2 or 3 days later, they're putting on Facebook, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me. And you're like, are you serious right now? Like, how are you going to forget about what I just did for you? You're going to just forget that fast. I feel like we can do that with God. Like he can be speaking to us. And it's awesome, man. He's speaking to you and he's encouraging you. It could be at youth group and you just feel like God is just moving in your heart. And then it can be like the next day, you just wake up and you completely forget about what God said about you. And you automatically are right back to that same person that you were before, right after God just talked you up and encouraged you. I feel like we can do that to God. We can be that person that just forgets so instantly what God has done for us. And Jacob, here's what happened with Jacob. He left that place that he felt like God had just moved in his heart. He felt like, man, how awesome is this place? And he set up a pillar and he set up an altar to remember what God had done. And he walked away from there. And here's the thing. He ended up having like all sorts of family, having all sorts of children. He walked away blessed beyond measure. Like he walked away, he was super successful. He made all sorts of money. It was awesome. God did something. God took him from a place where he had nothing, and he gave him so much. And Jacob, at the end of his father's life, he still has not made it back to his father's house. Even with everything that he had, he still felt like it wasn't enough because God ended up speaking to him. God told him, it's time to go back, Jacob. It's time to go back to your father's house. But there was still something. Jacob still felt like what he had wasn't enough. He felt like he still needed to impress his father because God said to him, he said, I want you to go back, Jacob. I want you to go back to that place. Go back to that place where you had nothing. Go back to that place where you were filled with shame. Go back to Bethel. Go back to that place. He was telling him, go back to the basics because you still don't have it right, Jacob. It's not about trying to impress people. It's not about being a person that's perfect. It's not about having all the wealth in the world. It's not about trying to impress your father. You need to go back. Look at your neighbor. Tell him, you need to go back. Back to basics. Back to basics. You don't need to try to impress people. You don't need to try to impress God. All that you need to do is to understand that God met you in the place where you had nothing. That even in that place, and there are times, I'm telling you tonight, young people, Chloe, you can come up here for a second, check this out. There are times in my life, even now, while I'm a pastor, that I look at my life and I feel like I don't have what it takes. I don't have what it takes to be up here anymore. There are so many times that I feel like, you know what, I don't have what it takes to do another Wednesday, God. I'm not good enough. I'm not as good of a preacher as that person. I'm not as good enough of a pastor as that one. Our youth ministry doesn't look as good as that youth ministry does. They're doing all of these events. They're doing all these awesome things. And I can feel like I'm not worthy. I can feel unqualified. I can feel like, God, I'm not impressive enough. Why do I have to keep on doing this? I don't think I have what it takes. And I can come to that place in my life. I can come to that place in my life where I feel like I'm not enough. And God will always remind me in that moment. And it could be even just before I walk up on the altar, I can feel like, man, you're powerless. You don't have what it takes. And all that I have to do is remind myself that none of that matters. And I go back to the place where I was 17 years old. 17 years old, didn't want to live for God, didn't care about who God was, didn't have a desire in my heart to serve him in the least. 17 years old, all I wanted to do was drink. All I wanted to do was smoke weed. All I wanted to do was chase after girls. I didn't care about God. I felt like I was living so far away from God. But at 17 years old, I made my way down to the altars. I had nothing to offer God, but it was in that place that he met me. And I remind myself that if he met me in that place, if he met me in my shame, if he met me in my guilt, when I had nothing to offer him, but he still offered himself to me, then if he met me in my lowest, he's going to meet me now. He's going to meet me again. He's still going to show up. He doesn't care that you have everything together. He doesn't care about how perfect you are. You don't have to try to impress him. He'll meet you in that place. He'll meet you in your guilt. He'll meet you when you were addicted to pornography. He'll meet you in that place. He'll meet you when you're so caught up in what that guy thinks about you. He'll meet you in that place. He'll meet you there. But he'll remind you who you are. And he said to Jacob, go back to that place. And it was when Jacob went back to the altar, back to the place, the pillar, where he first met with God, where God spoke to him, that God told him, Jacob, your name isn't Jacob, it's Israel. And he reminded him of who he really was. I wonder tonight, who are you? Who is God saying that you are? Who is God telling you that you really are? Deep down inside, you've been trying to impress people, but that's not who you are. Who is God saying that you are? You need to go back to the place where God has spoken to you about who you really are. Why don't you bow your heads and close your eyes just for a moment tonight? Jesus. Before you can go forward in life, you have to go back to the place where it was all about how God met you, when you had nothing to offer to him. Tonight, there are two different people that I want to talk to tonight. Tonight, if you're in this place tonight, you've never given your heart to Jesus. You say, man, I want him to meet me. I haven't been living for him. Nothing in my life has been given up to him. I haven't given him my entire life. If that's you in this place tonight, you would just say, you know what? I need God to meet me in my low state that I'm in. I need God to meet me in my guilt because I'm tired of living this lifestyle. I need God to meet me in my shame. If that's you here tonight, you say, I want to say yes to Jesus. I want to give him my heart because I haven't done it yet. I haven't been living for him. On the count of 3, I just want you to look up at me. 1, I need him to meet me in my guilt. 2, I want it to bring God glory. 3, look up at me. Look up at me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And here's another person that I want to talk to tonight. You guys can keep on looking up at me. It's fine. You're in this house tonight and you would say, man, God, I've given my heart to Jesus, but man, I've been doing some things that I've been trying to impress some other people around me. I've been feeling guilty because I haven't been living for God, but I want God to remind me of who I am. If that's you in this house tonight, I want you to look up at me on the count of 3. 1, I want God to meet me in my guilt. 2, and I want that person to bring God glory. Look up at me. 3. Go ahead. You can look up at me right now. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody look at me. Why don't you stand to your feet right now? Go ahead. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Come down to the altars. Come down to the altars, because it's time for you to rebuild the altar. It's time for the altar to be built in your life. It's an altar of remembrance where God is just going to be doing awesome things in your life, where God is going to speak to you about who you really are. Your challenge tonight is, who is God saying that you are? God has called you. God has chosen you. God has set you apart. When you feel like you can't be that person, when the devil tries to tell you that there's no way that you'll ever be a preacher, there's no way that you'll ever be a worship leader, because that's not who you are, you remind him, God said to me tonight at Anchored Youth, he said to me who I am. He told me that I'm chosen. He told me that I'm called. He told me that I'm going to see a culture shifted because of the glory that I want to give God. Here we go. Why don't you just shoot your hands up all across this place? Leaders, you can go through and pray over these students. God, we are giving our lives to you. We're giving everything to you, God. We want it to bring you glory. We know that even in the place of our shame, your glory can be met if we just give it to you, God. You meet us all the way down here in the low state that we're in. God, you went into the grave site of our hearts, and Jesus resurrected that grave. Jesus resurrected a new person inside of us. We want to be that new person. We want to be that new creation. Jesus is amazing. We want to lift him up in our schools. We want to lift him up in our lives. Come on, young person, be desperate for Jesus. Come on. Jesus. Jesus, who's he calling you to be tonight? You by yourself are nothing, but God has called you. He's speaking to you tonight. You need him in your heart. Come on. Just for a few moments longer. Jesus. Those of you sitting in your seats, who has God called you to be tonight? Who is God saying that you really are? You're not the person that you're trying to be, not the person that you're trying to impress God or impress other people with, but who is God speaking to you that you really are? Come on, God is here.
Come, Holy Spirit,
Jesus.
Awaken.
Jesus. God is calling you tonight. Come on, God is speaking to you tonight. He's here tonight. Don't allow him to pass you by. Come on, reach out. Touch the hem of his garment tonight. Receive your healing tonight. Jesus. Jesus.
The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place.